Shalom, call Halimla Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone who rule and teach well. And sincere Shalom to 144,000, 1/3. Now, got a couple things lined up. You see on your screen right now, this is an inflation calculator. So it shows you a brief summary of how much the US dollar has weakened over the decades. So let's just go back farther than 2005. Let's go back, let's say to 1970. So 1970, 100 bucks. $100 in 1970 is worth $830 now. Now you got to factor in that it doesn't mean that with that $100 back then is completely exactly equivalent to $830 now. That $100 back then could stretch much farther than $830 does now. Is just equivalent to $830 now because of the inflation and the weakening of the U.S. dollar. Because this is talking about the value of the U.S. dollar, not the value of the products. Okay, so let's say you have a vase, and that vase was worth $25 in the 70s. So you could buy 4 vases. That doesn't mean you can buy what, I don't know, how many times is 25 going 830, and then factoring in the inflation, that vase. All right, so 830 divided by what, 4? 830 divided by 4. That's about $208. That same vase is not going to cost, okay, $208. It may cost more. It may cost $375. It may cost $400. So every decade or so, the value of the U.S. dollar takes a hit. So that's the 70s. Let's go to the 80s. 300. So look at that massive hit right there, from the 80s, the 70s to the 80s, and then you do the 90s. Another hit, not as drastic, but you see that hit. Now the 2000s, 2010. Now let's do 2020. 24%. So the U.S. dollar has depreciated 24% in 5 years. Now just wait. Some major event is gonna happen, and it's gonna really put the squeeze and hurt on people. Let's go to Job 14:5, and it reads, "Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." Let's go into that word bounds. Get a proper understanding. Ordinance, a limit, prescribed task, a prescribed task. And what is Esau's prescribed task? To spread evil and confusion to the earth. Okay, so all this is coming to an end, and you also have to factor in that this paper, the U.S. dollar, is not even real money. We're going to this gold standard real quick. How the gold standard worked. The gold standard was a domestic standard regulating the quantity and growth rate of a country's money supply. Because new production of gold would add only a small fraction to the accumulated stock, and because the authorities guaranteed free convertibility of gold into non-gold money, the gold standard ensured that the money supply and hence the price level would not vary much. But periodic surges in the world's gold stock, such as the gold discoveries in Australia and California around the 1850s, caused price levels to be very unstable in the short run. So basically, having the gold standard keeps inflation in check, keeps the money supply in check. Now let's scroll down a little bit more. I think I missed it. Let me see. Okay. The gold standard broke down during World War I as major belligerents resorted to inflationary finance and was briefly reinstated from the 1925 to 1931, so just about the Great Depression era, as the gold exchange standard. Under this standard, countries could hold gold or dollars or pounds as reserves, except for the US and the UK, which held reserves only in gold. This version broke down in 1931 following Britain's departure from gold in the face of massive gold and capital outflows in 1933. President Franklin D. Roosevelt nationalized gold owned by private citizens and abrogated contracts in which payments was specified in gold. Between 1946 and 1971, countries operated under the Bretton Woods system. Under this further modification of the gold standard, most countries settled their international balances in US dollars. But the US government promised to redeem other central banks' holding of dollars for gold at a fixed rate for $35 per ounce. Now, how much is it? How much is gold now? What, 3,000 an ounce? President U.S. balance of payments deficits steadily reduced U.S. gold reserves. However, reducing confidence in the ability of the U.S. to redeem its currency in gold. Finally, on August 15, 1971, President Richard M. Nixon announced that the U.S. would no longer redeem currency for gold. This was the final step in abandoning the gold standards, which now the Fed and everything else, they can print infinite money because it's not backed by gold. It can just, it's worthless, essentially. So this is what Esau does, and this is why they the Great Depression was hyperdeflation, and now but hyperdeflation, Esau cannot control hyperdeflation, but Esau can control hyperinflation, which is why they chose to do hyperinflation. Let's go to Habakkuk 2 and verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? Yeah, that gold, right? Even that dollar bill, what that material, is that all belongs to the Israelites, man. This land, this belongs to the Israelites. This earth belongs to the Israelites. But you got these demons, these Edomites, so-called white man, ruling over it, who enlargeth. Oh, Salakia. Let's reread that. Um, Actually, let's start at verse 5. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, which is what his belief system, his way of going about life. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and as death, and cannot be satisfied. Because when Esau goes around, when he started colonialism, what did he do? He spread disease, rape, rob, and murder, right? Enslavement, all these negative, evil qualities, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And you see that here in America, in like the UK too, right? Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay? And you go into the Hebrew word there for clay, it goes into depths. And once this gold standard was taken out, guess what? Debt. And the US dollar is fiat currency, and we go into the CBDC system and all that. This is not even the fiat currency and this digital currency. It's not even real money. Okay, real money is let's get that Genesis 13 chapter. Real money. This is real money. Genesis 13 and 2. And Abram, which is Abraham before his name was changed, and Abram was very rich in cattle and in silver and in gold. So that's money. All right, that's real wealth. That's real currency. Cattle, silver, gold, and cattle could just mean any type of farm, domesticated animal, goat, sheep, chicken. Okay, and land too. Land is real wealth, not a paper dollar that's backed by nothing. This is gonna go into the silver certificate. Okay. Silver certificates were once a popular form of U.S. currency, representing a promise, a lot of broken promises, right? Representing a promise to pay the bearer a specific amount of silver on demand. However, the U.S. Treasury Secretary announced such certificates would stop being redeemable for silver in 1964. which issuance stopped soon thereafter. Today, such certificates can be redeemed for their face value rather than equivalent amount of silver. The phasing out of silver certificates was largely due to the rising value of silver, which made it impractical to continue debt, right? Debt, impractical to continue backing currency with the precious metal. Additionally, the shift towards a fiat currency system where money is not backed by physical commodities further diminished the need for silver certificates. So Esau's a demon. That's all that's going into. Let's end this off in Revelation 6, because this is all leading to this right here. Revelation, the 6th chapter and verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So this we're going into a inflammatory, inflationary, all right, hyperinflationary environment where you work 12 hours a day or whatever, and that's just enough to get food, nothing else. All right, so that's all I got for this lesson. Otto One Rogers was edifying. Shalom.